Theme song. That's the theme song.
Rooster Teeth. Once again, the drunk tank is rolling in. His podcast is here to win. It's Friday, so listen in. Bernie Burns is the royalty. Jeff Ramsey is all insanity. The Cirola, the king of nerdiness. Joel Hammond, he's fucking nervous. So sit back and laugh a ton. The Rooster Teeth is number one.
Okay, I couldn't understand a fucking word that kid said.
I'm guessing that he is the guitar portion of his rock band.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. not everyone's lead singer.
Now, unfortunately, we do not know the author of this week's theme song, but the name of the theme is Moshing in a Minivan.
Cool, clever title.
Hello, and welcome to the Drunk Tank, the Rooster Teeth podcast.
I am Jeff Ramsey.
And I am Alicia Pratt.
God, you're never going to stop with that, are you?
Who is Alicia Pratt?
I don't know who that is.
I'll have to look it up.
Do you know?
No, I just know the name Alicia Pratt.
Great. So, Bernie, this week we are without the witty insight of everyone's favorite minority, Gus Cirola. He is out of town in Miami. Or not Miami, I'm sorry, Orlando. Florida's all the same. Doing some sort of a commercial shoot for us, I think. And so, it's just me and you this week, buddy. Did you figure out who Alicia Pratt was?
Yeah, it might be like a personal friend from back in the day. But I'm her. It's important. I mean, a lot of women have trouble making a place for themselves online. I just want to try to help out that process as much.
Yeah,
as
it's really hard for a woman to stand out on the internet, I think.
You watched Hot for Words today, didn't you?
For the first time ever, yeah. What? Yeah. I did watch it like 18 times.
Matt just Amy and said, "This is bad timing for the podcast. We have a conference call in 25 minutes."
We have a conference call?
Who knows? Have you ever been on a conference call ever where anything happened?
No, never.
I mean, every conference call I've ever been on is like, I think it works like this. You call in, takes 10 minutes to call in. Even though you can normally just call anybody on the phone instantaneously or message them or email them, conference calls take about 10 minutes to set up.
Yes.
Somebody's always late.
Yes.
So then you do, like, so we'll wait for this person, they're late. Okay, let's try doing just random banter.
Oh, that's the worst.
Where are you guys from? Oh, how's the weather in Austin? Yeah. I heard about Stevie Ray Vaughan. Random bullshit like that. And then the person who's late will eventually show up after you've already started, and then you have to go back and kind of rehash for that person. By now, you're about half an hour into the conference call.
It's super awkward.
And then something comes up on the conference call. Somebody brings up a point, usually some jackass who wasn't even invited. That derails the conference call. You spend a lot of time talking about something that's irrelevant, and then you all decide to leave the conference call to investigate this issue that came up, and nothing gets done on a conference call.
Right, and then you work it all out in email.
That's also every meeting ever, in person, no matter what. That's how meetings work.
Yeah, pretty much.
I'm still trying to find out who Alicia Pratt is.
Good luck.
So what's going on? You're working on. I saw you working on Ghostbusters again.
I'm almost done. My goal today is to finish capturing for all my Ghostbusters videos, and then I can just release them over the next few days. Good game, not going to win any awards, I don't think, but a fun game, great voice acting, pretty well written. Apparently, a lot better written than Year One.
Year One, what?
The movie Year One, which was a Harold Ramis movie. Harold Ramis wrote the.
Oh, I see.
I'm sorry, I'm making a connection here. Harold Ramis wrote the Ghostbusters video game, and he wrote and directed Year One, the Jack Black, Michael Cera movie.
It's really weird because you said Year One, I immediately thought of a Batman thing. Isn't there a Batman Year One thing?
Yeah, that's what I think of too. Typically,
it's weird they can name movies like that with stuff that's almost oddly confusing.
It's interesting. I was looking through my Netflix queue, like Netflix streaming the other night, looking for new movies to add to it, and there's a movie called Slackers. And
not Slacker.
Slackers.
Yeah.
I haven't watched it yet, but it doesn't look very good. But
I would imagine not.
Really confusing for me because I was looking at the cover, going, none of these guys look like Rory Cochrane, or whatever. And I couldn't figure it out.
Yeah. Likewise, when I was in my Netflix catalog the other day, I found Transmorphers, and it was a big robot standing over a bunch of vehicles and bashing the vehicles. I always wonder, at what point in your career do you decide I'm totally comfortable doing the knockoff? And not even like a parody, but I'm really just doing, there's something popular in the world, I'm just going to do another version of it that I know is shittier, but I'm just going to try to confuse people into watching my thing.
Absolutely, yeah. Do you wonder if, like, is there a point in that director's career where he's like, fuck.
Or the writer,
Yeah.
or, even the actors. I mean, they cast these people that bring him in and say, I'm going to read for Transmorphers this weekend. Do they kind of convince themselves in their head that this is people like Transformers and I'm just doing something else in the robot transformation genre?
Right.
That's a big thing now. I don't know. It's pretty lame. I mean, we see all those movies now, like the Scary Movie, which then turned into the High School Movie, which turned into the Epic Movie, and that seems to be like a theme for those guys. That seems like it's on a different level to me.
Yeah.
Than these things that are just like straight to video hits that are just trying to latch on like a sucker fish.
More than that, like, I think about this a lot with Tobe Hooper specifically.
Whoa.
Who I loved as a kid because he did Texas Chainsaw Massacre and he did Poltergeist and he did Invaders from Mars, which I thought was a great movie until I saw it as an adult.
And he dated Alicia Pratt.
I wonder, like, I looked him up not too long ago on IMDb, and he's doing straight to video horror movies now. And I wonder what it's like to go from making movies like Poltergeist, which are huge films produced by Steven Spielberg, to doing like direct to video. Like, I think he did a Piranha sequel, like Piranha 3 or something.
Do you want to know that a girl that I went to high school with was the lead in the original Piranha?
Oh, really?
She was Susie Grogan.
They filmed that in right down the road in San Marcos.
Yep.
Actually, I think
Down at Aquarina Springs.
Yeah,
which was about freshwater piranha. How scary is that?
That's pretty fucking scary.
I guess so. I was swimming in the lake this weekend, and the lake here in Austin is about 80 feet deep to 120 feet deep.
Yeah,
but pretty much all over the place. Like there's no like gradual. It's all cliffside, and there's one part of it that's shore, but then it's pretty much a straight drop, and that's kind of a creepy feeling knowing you're over 80 feet of water.
80 feet of freshwater piranha. Potentially.
Yeah. Even the ocean's not like that, really.
No.
I mean, you been in the ocean much at all?
A ton, dude. I've lived on the ocean most of my life.
Oh, okay. So you can go out like, half a mile and you're still over the shelf and you're like maybe 50 feet deep. And then it drops off to 7 miles deep. But,
yeah.
The idea that the ocean is like you go out, a few hundred feet and you're over like 200 feet of water. It's just not the case.
Suddenly you're above the Cloverfield monster.
Yeah, no shit. There was some creepy-ass thing on it. Did I derail your story? Do you want to?
I was going to go somewhere with it, but I don't remember now. I was trying to get back to it, and I can't figure it out. So,
well, did you see the YouTube video of the sewer pipe where they found these creepy, like, alien-looking things?
No.
Okay, here. We'll talk about something else, and next time we get off on a different tangent, I'm going to load that up, and we'll put it in the linked up so people can, like, load it up as well and listen to Jeff react to how horrible these things are. They basically put a sewer pipe down or they put a camera down a sewer pipe and just discovered something a bit odd down there.
A bit odd.
I think that's really the only way you can put it. It was just this freakish, like, blobbish kind of thing. And you never know these days when you see stuff like this, if it's a viral marketing piece or if it's legitimate weird thing. I don't know. I have a skepticism now for just anything new in the world, that it's got to be a product of capitalism in some way. That it's got to be some kind of marketing piece.
Speaking of capitalism, did you see the success of Transformers over the 5-day weekend?
I did.
It made $201.5 million in the first 5 days.
Kind of depends on how you gauge success, because monetarily it did very well. But man, did it get brutalized in the reviews.
Yeah, but who cares? It did well. It doesn't matter.
Well, there was one of the producers, I think, for Transformers was Don Murphy. But Don Murphy, whether or not he produced Transformers, was sure on a tear, being an asshole about some of the reviews, particularly some of the online reviews. And he was talking about pulling ads from websites. And we all knew this movie was going to make millions and millions and millions of dollars. Why is this guy going out of his way basically saying we're only going to put our ads on things that give us good reviews? Just weather it. Weather some guy on the internet saying that your movie sucks when you're making $200 million in 5 days.
Yeah, it's not like he couldn't have thought that Transformers 2 was like Citizen Kane. He couldn't have expected it to be this extremely, it's a fucking movie about robots fighting.
It makes me wonder too. When I think of big time American directors, Michael Bay's on my list.
Absolutely.
I think probably the best, like, in the action genre, or the big blockbuster genre. James Cameron is actually, even though he hasn't made a big blockbuster movie in a long time now, he's making those 3D fish movies.
He's about to, though. Avatar's going to be huge.
Right. He'll come back with Avatar, which supposedly is going to be just enormous and change the way you look at movies. Have you heard that yet?
You always hear that, don't you?
Well, no, this one is, people come out of the reviews and they say, I know I've been to movies before, but I feel like I just saw movies for the first time. Come on. Okay, now look. I'm going to hand you this laptop.
Okay, and I just
and it's going to be
react.
playing this video. And this is in a sewer pipe. And this is
This
what
is in a sewer pipe where?
Cameron Village, North Carolina.
It's in America. Fuck.
It's in America. Okay.
I don't want to see this. This is gonna suck. Okay.
I have very little battery life. Let's just play that and see if you can figure out what it is.
And does anybody know what this is?
No, nobody knows what it is. People have theories, but you can talk about it. Describe what you're seeing.
Oh my god.
Hey, Matt, do you want to sit down and
I'm
watch Matt
seeing
or
like
watch Jeff watch a video?
I'm seeing what looks like ectoplasm.
I did.
Oh, it's like somebody. It's like a human. Oh, it's like the inside of something.
Yep. It's like some kind of like bulbous like mass
And it's-
inside a sewer pipe that seems to be alive, right?
It's totally alive.
It's like the blob.
Is it going to do anything, or is it just? It doesn't attack, does it? Dude, if it attacks,
It just sits there and looks creepy. Hey, Matt, do you want to jump on that mic?
oh fuck! How do you?
That's got to be a colonoscopy, right?
You think
Did I pronounce that right? Colonoscopy.
Oh, gross, dude. Can you? How?
So, Matt, we have a conference call coming up here.
We do, and it's going to cut this
There's more of them.
podcast short, so we'll have to stop, and everybody can wait with us. We'll have a conference call, then we'll come back to the podcast.
Dude, it
We
looks
can
like
listen into the conference call.
it looks like a
They could.
tonsil.
Hey,
I
Oh,
wouldn't hear much
fuck.
that was interesting.
Have you ever been on a conference call, Matt, where anything has ever happened, ever?
I'm going to say no. That's really not what conference calls are about. Conference calls are about delaying the inevitable, which is you have to work at some point, but nobody wants to do that, and nobody wants to be delegated and assigned all their responsibilities. So they have a conference call to talk about who's going to be assigned stuff and who's going to be delegated to without actually doing the delegating or assigning, because that wouldn't happen in a big, virtual room full of people.
Is this viral marketing for like a Tom Savini movie or something?
No clue.
Are you still watching the colonoscopy?
God
He
damn
is.
it, dude! It's
Jeff is going to be a doctor by the time he's
it's
finished
reacting to
watching
the light.
What is it called? Proctologist Jeff.
How big is this pipe? Is it a tiny pipe or is it a big like walk-through pipe?
They did a sewer pipe, which would be walk through.
Oh fuck that, dude!
So here's how a perfect conference call would work for me.
Okay.
Everyone gets on the conference call. Everyone dials in somehow magically and gets in when the conference call is supposed to begin.
They have services for that.
What? Calling in?
The dialing in part.
Yeah, but still nobody does it right. How long does it take on average to get a conference call going? Even though you're scheduled.
Oh, at least 10 minutes, right?
Right. That's exactly what Bernie said. Oh, dude, I wish I hadn't seen that.
Perfect conference call to me is everyone gets on the conference call and all anyone does is says their name
Yep.
and says their email address and then
Yep.
everybody hangs up.
Hangs up. That would be good. Or they could just go on chat, and just do it, have an AIM chat real quick and be done with it.
I find though that now on chat, I used to like chat better because people would have to really think about what they were going to say, and they would be succinct instead of like on a phone call when they start yapping about the weather and just like how are you and being cordial, that kind of stuff that I hate. But now on chat, people just do that anyway. And I
Well,
find-
they do, but you know what's good about chat is that they have that character limit. And at first I hated that, but then I thought, oh, I'm just talking too much.
Mhm.
It's the Twitterizing of the world. Everybody's got to get in within 148 characters. Is that what it is? 144.
140.
140. Gosh, it's less than I thought. I got to shut up right now. I'm not going to make this into a Twitter post.
The other thing too about conference calls that I can't stand is these new systems they have where you announce yourself when you call in.
I like that because it's like when you go to order a burger at Fuddruckers and you can say anything. It's like this is Elvis. And so they call it Elvis, and you're like, oh, Elvis is here getting a Fuddruckers hamburger.
See, they always tell you say your name followed by the pound sign. So whenever I enter a conference call, it says this: now entering the conference call, Bernie Burns pound sign.
I did that on our first ever conference call with Microsoft.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Nobody ever gets the joke.
No, they never do.
They don't. They either just
Or maybe we're not the only two people that make that joke.
they
Jeff
silently think you're an idiot.
Jeff is not the best person at public speaking, and I think that actually qualifies as public speaking because a lot of people hear it later.
What are you trying to say?
I'm saying you've had a few slip ups when addressing people on a microphone that may or may not have been on when you thought it was on.
You could
What would you say was his worst one?
my George Bush doesn't like black people joke when we got our Machinima Award.
We
But it wasn't my fault. The
This
mic
was
cut
right
out.
after the whole Kanye West,
Katrina.
Mike Myers, Katrina, Kanye West saying George Bush doesn't like black people in the middle of that. It was a Katrina benefit show, right?
It was with Telethon, and Kanye West was presenting with Mike Myers, and for whatever reason, Kanye West decided to derail their presentation, and Mike Myers is saying, the people of New Orleans have been devastated by this tragic natural disaster, and then Kanye West just barges in and says, George Bush does not care about black people. And Mike Myers turned white for a Canadian. You know? It was like he became translucent for a moment. Like that thing in the sewer. And it was horrible. And so, Jeff, when we won an award...
Yeah, I went up and I
Machinima Film Festival.
I think Gus said something and Matt said something and maybe Joel or someone else did, and then it was my turn to get up. So I just said the joke, but the fucking mic cut out. So all people heard were black people.
It cut on
It
in the middle of Jeff talking.
This crazy guy with a bunch of tattoos got up in front of everybody just to yell black people for no reason.
and
This is like a nice place, and everybody's like having drinks.
It was some fancy bar in New York, yeah. And then it was a long walk through that crowd to get to the bar where the bartender was black. And I had to go up and order a vodka tonic. I don't give a fuck, though.
You really needed that vodka tonic after that, too.
I don't get embarrassed, so it was not a problem.
You don't get embarrassed, and that
No.
becomes a problem for us.
Life's too short.
Yeah, not for other people. Other people's lives are just the right amount of time. You're there fucking it up.
Right.
Matt's attacking his microphone. Okay, what else is coming out for movies very soon?
Harry Potter and Half-Blood Prince will be out
We got
July
our tickets.
15th. You got your tickets already?
We got tickets.
Where are you guys going to see it?
Somewhere in America. I don't know. Wherever my wife picked. We're not going... I don't think we're going to the Alamo.
I'm going to go
We're
see
not going to the IMAX because the IMAX is not showing the Harry Potter IMAX 3D version until
2 weeks
like
after.
August or
Yeah.
something? I mean, it's ridiculous how long they're waiting.
Harry
to
Potter's
show
in 3D?
It's going to be 3D IMAX, and they're not showing it. It's not launching on IMAX with the traditional theater because of Transformers: Rise of the Fallen.
You can't go though. You're a non-believer.
I'm not a big Harry Potter fan.
No muggles allowed.
Jeff and Matt are. You couldn't ask for a more perfect Harry Potter podcast group because these
Harry Potter
two.
high five.
What is it with you guys?
Dude, read the fucking book and you'll see it's the best thing ever.
I've seen Matt. Is
God,
like,
what is-
Matt's like doing
he's doing
construction.
construction.
Yeah, he's pulling out power strips, knocking over microphones.
He's getting ready for the conference call.
This is all the preparation to have a conference call where it's like, "Hi, this is us, this is you, and we all want to work together. Great." Now we'll go.
No,
away.
they don't want to work with us.
I'll send you an email
We're trying to
summarizing
convince
this.
them.
Conference call.
Nobody wants
This is
to
what you do when you work in a real company. Is you like this must be like an island in the middle of the day where it's they want to get out of work so they go to meetings
Dude,
all
I tell you
day.
what, at least this is better, man. When I worked at Warner Brothers, we actually had on the board like schedules for this one boardroom for everybody's conference calls during the day because there were so many conference calls that you had to sign up for. Like, I need the boardroom at this time today because we're gonna have a conference call. It was
What?
like every single day?
What movie was that you were working on?
Scooby Doo.
Scooby-Doo required that many fucking conference calls?
Because we were working with like 3 or 4 other visual effects houses, and every day there was some department that needed some kind of asset or whatever, and it couldn't just be, like we talked about, like, send the file to me. Great, thanks. It had to be like, let's talk about how you send this file to me.
Wow.
Can we just send it, FTP or digitally, or like we're normal people with computers that have done this 100 times before on this project?
Right.
Nope, we got to talk about it.
It's crazy, like even in the digital age where you wouldn't think that anything would need to be in person or physical. How many times are we FedExing hard drives with files on them or tapes? Like we have to convert stuff from digital format down to like digital beta
Yeah,
and send that out. It's crazy.
it's kind of crazy.
Can I ask you a question?
No.
Because I've always acted like I've known, but I don't know. What the hell is digibeta? It's a tape. It's a digital tape?
I think the only difference between beta and digibeta, and I'm not even sure about this, is that you can separate the component streams.
What does that mean?
When you have the component, the 3,
I'm not asking for you, I'm asking for the audience.
the 3
Yeah,
signals
right.
that's red, green, and blue. That are separate colors. Like
Yeah.
when you have your
And yellow.
Xbox, if you have with the 3 and you plug them in, right? I think it keeps those, like, preserves those on the tape separately, as opposed to a regular beta would just be like all the information's mushed together in a composite form,
Right.
and then the machine tries to interpret, sending it back out in those component signals.
Why do we use RGB for TV and not CMYK?
It's pigment
Why-
versus light.
Is
Yeah.
it?
Yeah.
Okay.
The three primary colors of light are red, green, and blue. 3 primary colors of pigment are blue, red, and yellow.
Well, cyan,
Cyan,
magenta, and yellow.
Yeah.
Cyan, magenta, and yellow.
And black, of course.
Interesting.
You have to have your own black. K is black. Why is K black? I never knew that.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
I don't know.
What are you, racist? K can be whatever.
K people.
maybe K's from
That's
Detroit.
that was my Jeff impersonation.
Thank you. The other cool thing about those digibeta tapes is a 30-second tape is like $500.
Yeah, that's the difference.
Yeah.
Buying a videotape that lasts 60 minutes somehow costs $500.
But all those tapes are like 30 years old at this point. That's antiquated stuff.
What is that huge hum that just started? Is that
my computer just kicked in.
That's your computer doing that?
I don't know. It's coming from that side of the room. There's nothing else over
The
there.
computer's needy. I want you to pay attention to it.
Yeah, we got to figure out what.
It might be the UPS actually. I just got a new UPS.
If that UPS is doing that, you got to replace that thing.
Okay.
It does it all the time.
All right.
And now now the podcast sucks. Before it was great. Now it sucks.
I know. Quick community thing. If you're watching if you're on the website and you notice the sponsor ads, we're trying to tweak the sponsor ads settings so that people see more sponsor ads and see them more evenly. Because the system we were using before had a thing where sponsor ads were like, there was a specific quantity and they would go out and so some people would see a ton of them and some people wouldn't see any at all. So we're trying to equalize that. So if you have any feedback on that, if you're seeing a good amount of those, let us know. Or if you're not seeing any at all, let us know.
Did you guys see that Friendster has adopted the user ads?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, you have to pay for theirs though.
Right, that is
they're
correct.
like add and give us Friendster bucks or whatever they use.
Friendster bucks. It's like stripper bucks.
I just imagine that they have
I think Friendster's worked their way down to the barter system at this point.
We trust.
They're like, we'll take anything. If you have like an old couch, we'll take that. Whatever. We're not on Facebook. We get it.
You gonna eat that sandwich?
But how big is Friendster? They still have a ton of people on there, right?
They have a
It's
ton of
just not
accounts that people made at one point. I think that's what MySpace is reaching that level too. Of
I guess they are.
we
but
want.
it seems like a lot of Friendster you could see was going not U.S. anymore. Like all the accounts, as it was waning and MySpace was shooting up. Like all their accounts seemed to be from Asia and just you go to Japan now. Is Friendster the cool one? And Facebook,
there's a map where they show
does Facebook.
the primary social media site in that country. There's a map that somebody made.
Oh, really?
Based on the majority of users, and I think in Europe, Bebo is one that's very, very big.
Yeah, we were in Amsterdam. Bebo,
BEBO.com.
When we were in Amsterdam, we were talking to some of the kids there about Facebook, and I don't think most of them had heard of Facebook. They all use Bebo.
I'm trying to plug in my laptop.
Matt's last podcast.
Sliding.
You don't have to bring your entire desk with you every time you do the podcast.
Matt's moving in. Matt will be taking a shower later during the podcast and taking us with him. We went through in Austin a week ago a horrendous heat wave.
We're about to do it again.
Yeah.
Are we really?
Yeah.
Worst, hottest June ever recorded.
And we broke a record for power usage too, which that's not a good thing.
Yeah, those two go hand in hand, right?
Yeah, I would assume so.
I just looked and the next 5 days are over 100, starting tomorrow.
Well, the good news for us going into this heat wave versus the last heat wave is that our AC broke during the last heat wave.
Yeah.
And the guy comes out and looks at it and says, "Yeah, we're going to have to replace the whole unit. It'll be $8,000." So I said, "Oh my God, I don't want to pay $8,000 for we rent the space that we're in now, but when you rent commercial space, especially downtown, you're responsible for things like HVAC, and so we were going to have to replace it at our own cost for our landlord." So I called out somebody else just for the hell of it to see, let's get a different estimate on this and see how much it's going to be. The second dude came out, worked for 2 hours with a garden hose and fixed the AC, and now it's freezing in here.
Apparently it was dirty. He sprayed some water in our AC, cleaned out the muck, and saved us $8,000.
The first guys were like, "Okay, we got to test the structural integrity of the roof, and we got to figure out where we're going to put a crane, and we'll probably need to come in after hours on weekends because you guys are downtown and do all this." Some guy's like, "Where do you have a spigot for some water?" Runs the garden hose and fixes everything.
And he fixed our hot water, too, in our bathroom sink.
Yeah, that was pretty embarrassing. Our hot water in our sink in the bathroom has always suffered from a little trickle.
Yeah.
And that's it. And I thought that it was a safety device. I would complain about it, saying, "Why do they put these safety devices? We're not going to burn ourselves," because you'd run it and it would run for 2 seconds at high pressure and then go to a trickle. And then he's down there working on it, and because we were trying to hook the hose up to our sink somehow. And he goes, "You don't have hot water up here." And I said, "Oh, we do, but it's got this safety mechanism in it, blah, blah, blah." And while I'm saying this to him, he turns a knob under the sink, and all of a sudden hot water comes out. I go, or maybe it's that. He threw that in for free.
Yeah.
This guy was like a water genius. Maybe we should send him a video from the sewer pipe, see if he can figure out what that is. Scientists are stumps, and he'll be like, "That's Phil." I know him. Do we have to jump off at the conference call now?
They're going to call us. So
Great.
we don't even have to do that goofy call-in thing. So when you guys hear the phone ring, you'll know that means we're doing something
Should
important.
we let them participate in the conference call?
Everybody just hang out and be cool.
Everybody just say pound.
Well, now the cool thing is that we have now someone who answers our phone for us, which is something we should have gotten probably 3 years ago.
That's true.
And we have
That's
a
good
new
thing.
hire who works here, who goes by the name of
And
Brandon.
that seemed to coincide with a number of prank calls. we get simultaneously.
We did get a high number of prank calls last night.
I'm almost wondering if he is telling his friends to prank call the office so they can have more work to do.
Yeah, that got pretty bad. I mean, we usually do a fairly good job of avoiding prank calls, but last night was pretty bad.
Yeah, well, that was it was a crazy day.
Yeah, it was right after you left. It got
worse.
It was
after
just,
I left.
We didn't answer the phone, so it was just like ring, ring, ring. Probably rang for like an hour straight of them calling back and calling back and calling back. But
If you're listening to the podcast, thanks a lot, guys.
yeah, we really appreciate that.
Yeah.
You guys are nice guys.
Nothing better than having to stop work to deal with that.
Yeah.
So, sorry the episode of Rivers Blue won't be out this week, but we had to talk about butt sex with you.
See, my problem is too. I always want to like joke along for the first 30 seconds, and that's just a bad idea.
Well, yeah, it's just like
It's just
it
oxygen.
encourages them. Yeah.
Yeah, speaking of having fun,
Yes.
Gus and Joel are together in Orlando working on a commercial right now. Gus and Joel are traveling together. Are they staying? Please tell me they're staying in the same hotel
Man,
room.
I really hope they are.
Are they in the same
I
hotel
hope
room?
that, I really
I
hope
don't.
they are.
I don't think there's any way Gus would
Or
let that
I
happen.
hope they got one of the like two rooms that are next to each other and has the door that goes through. You know, because I know Gus would want to keep that door locked, and Joel probably find a way to like get through and like, hey Gus, let's be buddies and go through each other's door.
I can just imagine, if you can, an episode of The Odd Couple with no dialogue for 30 minutes. That's the level of awkward that room would be, of just like Joel like knocking things over on the dresser and Gus just staring at him. I can't imagine what that's like.
Every once in a while you hear Joe go, and then Gus goes,
This commercial
it's
too.
the side grouch.
Apparently, you know, we were talking about the digibetas and antiquated equipment earlier.
Yeah.
Apparently, they're using some antiquated equipment.
That's why I brought it up. I don't
on
want to get
this
specific
commercial.
about it. 'Cause
Yeah,
I'm
let's
afraid
let's not be specific at all. But they have to do that for some reason, and I keep getting like, you know, these little messages from Gus that are just like angry Gus, you know, because he's in there dealing with this stuff, and I think Joel's probably not making it easier on him.
Venting is a very big part of the process where you run into things, and everyone vents. I vent probably more than anybody else
Yes, you do.
because I do more work. But when I come up against things,
Wait, what was the second part of that?
I'll walk out into the other room to actually go vent, and then I'll come back in. I think lately what I've said the most is, you know what I hate about Mac? Like I like things in general, but here's what I particularly hate about it. This one moment. And I'll vent, and then I'll just come back in. I don't expect anybody to solve my problem or anything like that. Unless, when Gus comes back, I'm going to talk to him about this Ethernet thing. Get to that in a second.
Yeah.
Joel's MO is Joel will come in and tell you why what he's doing is extremely hard, and then he'll finish as though he's asking a question, but he doesn't want any kind of response. He doesn't want a solution of any kind. It's kind of like being married to Joel.
That's a
It
chick,
is kind
that's
of,
a chick
yeah.
move, actually, isn't it?
Yeah. And he just wants you to. I don't know what he wants. Does he want me to say what you're doing is so hard? Yes.
I sympathize.
I sympathize.
Yeah.
I have feelings. Let's read Twilight chapter by chapter.
Do you think through the course of the 4 days those guys are in Orlando together, they had more than 10 lines of conversation?
I'm just hoping they both come
No.
back. You know?
We
Who knows
can
what
say
can
get rid of
happen?
one of them. I
Yeah.
think. Maybe not both of them. Maybe some kind of hybrid will come back. How long have we been here?
In this room?
oh,
Seems like forever.
conference
That's the
call.
important call.
All right, shall I pause this? And the conference call is
Maybe it's
7 minutes late.
maybe it's a conference prank call.
That'd be great.
Combine the two.
Hi, we're calling from Los Angeles. Do you guys want to have butt sex?
Hello?
Matt's on the call.
Hi, it's Matt.
Okay.
Best conference call ever.
Wow, that was an awesome conference call.
There's only 11 and a half minutes.
As far as conference calls go, that's a good sign.
That's a great
I take
that's a
back
great time.
everything negative you guys said about conference calls.
Did you take it back?
I feel bad. I feel guilty now for making fun of a conference call, and then it treats me so well. It's killing me with kindness, conference call. Okay, while we're making fun of things, let's make fun of Gus.
Yeah, let's make fun of Gus. You want to talk about how our fucking ports don't work?
Let's talk about that. That's a great topic to talk about. How long have we been in this building?
7 years.
We've been in this building for 7 years. Actually, closer to 2.5, I would say. You might want to check your calendar.
Split the difference.
Oh, okay.
It's 2.5.
2.5 years.
Calendar.
We've been in here 2.5 years. Mm-hmm. How long did Gus have dedicated himself to being here?
You mean
Before we moved
before we
in.
moved in? He had like 3 months.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
And there was two things that were critical, which was to get all the network up and running.
Yes.
And then also remember the circuit breakers was an issue that we wanted to split that stuff.
Also, I was hoping he was going to do something about the Wendy's smell that was left in here. That didn't happen.
Our office used to be the upstairs of a Wendy's. many moons ago.
I bet you guys didn't even know that Wendy's had upstairs.
You know, who knew?
Yeah.
Who knew? In fact, half this place was bathrooms when we moved in.
Did you ever eat at that Wendy's?
No.
I ate here once, and I sat upstairs.
Really?
But it's like, why the fuck why would Wendy's have an upstairs? I gotta go check it out.
Was anyone else upstairs?
Yeah. This was like late 90s, I think. Mid to late 90s.
Oh, so it was
a long
happening.
time ago.
Because you know how people like to eat upstairs in the late 90s.
Yeah.
It's Wendy's upstairs.
90 style.
Wendy's upstairs sounds like one of those things on the list of dirty sex moves. I gave her a Wendy's upstairs.
I challenge any of you listening to this to come up with what that is and email it to gus@roosterteeth.com. That's gus@roosterteeth.com.
But there were times when we were working in the office at the end of season 5, the Buda office,
Yeah.
and Gus was like, I'm sorry I can't be here. I have to go to the new office for hours or days at a time.
Yes.
And what did we get for that? I'll tell you what we got for that. Before you answer.
We got him out of the office.
We got Gus-
the old office.
We got eyebrows out of the office. And then we moved in here, and we have, at every desk, there's 4 Ethernet ports. Or more.
Which
Sure.
you would think would be enough.
You would absolutely think that would be enough.
If
And this is a big if.
all 4 of them worked.
For some reason, Gus decided not to hook up all the Ethernet ports. And he's never explained why. But when you want one, you have to go to him and ask him, can you please set up my Ethernet ports at my desk? He'll come over, look at it, and go, I can do that. And then he goes and sets it up. In 2 seconds. But now we have a dead port in here. Gus is out of town and we can't use it.
Not only that, but our ports, we only get like half the use that like a normal operation would get because all of our computers now use 2 ports.
Right?
We have 2 ports per computer. So you have 4 ports. No, you really only have 2. Because like a computer needs 2 of those ports just to have our normal network setup, which is an abnormal network setup.
Which I have to say is very cool.
It is
It's just
very
very cool that we can do it. But it's like one less port. So if you need your laptop or an Xbox or something else on that, you've already been cut down. So there's like really, there's really 2 ports.
Yeah.
And then those aren't set up. So you have like half of one port.
And there seems to be no rhyme or reason to it, too. Like, you and I tried to hook it up to port number 3 under my desk yesterday. Doesn't work. 1, 2, and 4 are active.
Right.
Why not 3?
Why not
are 1,
3?
2, and 4 active? Yeah.
Because no one's ever asked to have 3 set up. There's something amiss.
What does Gus have against the number 3?
I think he's hiding something. I think perhaps we don't.
Where is he hiding it?
Like he's running these other ports somewhere else and making money on the side. I'll explain why.
It's like some kind of a port redirect scheme. he's selling internet to the coffee shop downstairs.
But he did go off to Orlando, which is nice, because sometimes these business trips will get a little ridiculous.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm hoping they go to Disney World and get one of those gigantic Rice Krispie treats in the shape of Mickey's head. Do you remember when we went to J-Con
I do.
one
It was
time?
like the ears were chocolate and the rest of it was...
Oh, it was so good. It was enormous.
I can't imagine
It's as
how
big as a
much
bear.
I love the idea of Joel and Gus going to Disneyland together.
I know.
Or Disney World, excuse me.
I would pay for those vacation photos.
They dress up like pirates. That'd be awesome.
The photo of them standing next to Mickey Mouse would be the most amazing thing ever.
Speaking of pirates.
Speaking of pirates.
Oh, shit. Speaking of pirates.
The Pirate Bay
Oh.
this week didn't shut down,
No.
didn't go to jail.
Nope.
They sold their company for $8 million to another software gaming company.
Some kind of Swedish gaming network site. Yeah.
And now they've just sold their company off, even though they were just basically found guilty and are to be thrown in jail and fined $4 million. They then get to sell that company to somebody else for $8 million. What the hell?
That's basically insane.
That's basically insane,
It's
right?
pretty insane. You know what they did buy, though, with that $8 million, or $7.8 million, I think, to be exact. They bought the entire user base from everybody that's had an account and stolen shit illegally on Pirate Bay.
That's
One would
absolutely
assume, right?
That's absolutely right. Do you have to have an account to be on Pirate
I
Bay?
think you do. I think you have a username and a password kind of thing, right?
At the very least, they have the IP records.
I
Yeah.
gotta go.
You know, and I read a post too where the main dude from the Pirate Bay says, "We have never kept logs of this stuff. We don't keep logs. Your confidentiality has always been very important to us, and will continue to be so." It's like, yes,
Unless we can make a lot of money.
yeah,
off you.
yeah. So was you not selling out? That was another thing too. You guys not selling the site, and you guys supposedly giving everything away for free and being the champions of anti-copyright.
Yeah. This stuff shouldn't cost money. It should be free. So we're going to give it to you for free until we sell to a company that's going to start charging you.
Exactly right. And the switch, it was like flipping a switch on these guys because they were like, oh, we're doing this, like putting up all their legal letters and making all these, like flying in the face of all that. they're like, "Oh, take us to court. We dare you." Somebody takes him to court. Finally, the first person that takes him to court beats him, and then they're instantly like, "Okay, that's it. We in order to maintain this site and have the site continue, we have to convert to a profit model." It's like, I mean, they're talking like a corporation instantaneously. Yep. Nobody ever talks about this because nobody seems to care, but the industry most affected by piracy has got to be the porn industry.
I would think so, yeah.
Right? I mean, and nobody cares about that at all. Actually, probably right off the bat, photographers have been affected more than anybody else because nobody thinks twice about trading images or reposting images. I mean, if you mention that, is this image copyright? People are like, "What are you talking about?"
Yeah, I saw like somebody's images for sale. Like they'd taken some HDR images and they were selling them.
I'm so sick of that. Are you sick of HDR yet?
I could go either way.
God.
But anyway, I was like seeing this and it's like, how is this guy going to sell these images? Because like these are all over Flickr and you can just download them in front of yourself or whatever, like or they have all those services where you can just
can print from the website.
Print from the website. It's like nobody's going to buy the prints.
Yeah,
it's just like it doesn't happen anymore. It's like that technology is like just passed that market segment by.
Yeah.
Those
are people who made a lot of money for a long time doing that stuff.
Yeah.
You made a living in college doing that stuff.
I did, not a good living.
Yeah.
Thus moving on to
to
giving away videos instead of giving away pictures.
The crazy thing about the porn thing is that you never hear the porn industry as a whole complain either, like you hear the movie industry or the music industry.
No, you know what, though?
They don't grouse. Like, at the beginning of a movie, how many of us have seen this where you go to watch a movie, you go to watch, like, Transformers, and there's a dude, there's like a carpenter talking to you, and he's like, I work 8 months out of the year, I bust my ass making sets for movies, and I just lost my job because of piracy. Like, you never see at the beginning of a porno movie, not that I've ever seen a porn, or ever would because I'm happily married, but you never see, like, a chick with, like, 2 dicks in her hand going, I suck dicks 11 months out of the year. But thanks to piracy, now I can only suck 1 dick. And my daughter can't go to private school.
Wouldn't you have to double up on the dicks? Now I've got to do the gangbang 50 to make ends meet.
Yeah, like I have to fuck 12 dudes to get paid what I used to get paid for fucking 2.
Yeah, I think that's just a function of the fact that
Carpenter's one of the dudes.
Porn doesn't have very high budgets. Like, people aren't getting paid $20 million. You know what I mean?
No.
There are a lot of people who make money.
Who's calling now? We have another conference call?
That's somebody calling me on iChat, and I have to cancel it. But there's a lot of people who make a lot of money on movies, like gaffers and, best boys and people. Really,
focus pullers. And
how much of a percentage of a budget do you think, salary-wise, what's that breakdown for people, the above-the-line people, as they're called, and the below-the-line people? I mean, there might be...
Well, that's the thing, is like when you see those... sappy, don't pirate, commercials before the movie with the carpenter saying, I can't get a job because that's not the way it works. No. That guy's salary is not going to move 1 penny.
It's union.
Whether or not,
it's set.
Yeah. Whether or not the pirating happens. The studio might lose a few bucks here or there.
Right.
That guy's not going to make any more or less money. I'm sure that they're trying to con him into thinking he's going to make more or less money. But I guarantee you, if piracy went away today, the studios aren't going to go, you know what, let's pay that carpenter some more money.
Right.
He deserves some more money because we're not being pirated from anymore.
Right. It's the same thing with video games, too. I hate video game piracy. I really do, because I see people who work so hard at it, and it's kind of, in my opinion, a fledgling industry still. They're growing, and they haven't quite established. Like, people work really long hours making these video games. I mean, super long hours. And I'm starting to hear more and more stuff about royalties making their way down to people who work on the games.
Yeah.
But for the large part, it's a salary job with ridiculously long hours.
Yeah,
let me qualify what I was saying before, in that piracy is wrong, and the fact that the carpenter's salary is not going to change doesn't make the piracy better.
Absolutely.
But you're just talking about the realities.
Is that the reality of it is, like, this guy in a sense is being exploited. Having to go out and say, like, piracy is affecting me personally, when it's not affecting him personally. It's upper management studio decisions that are affecting him personally. If
piracy ended tomorrow for software and for movies, would there be any illusion that they would lower the price of either?
That is a great question. I don't know. That's always the big argument they make, I think, with PC, and games, stuff, software and games. But I don't know about movies. I don't think movies would change.
But what will happen, I think, is the PC gaming industry, to me, is right at the heart of the piracy issue. Because you have to have a high-end PC to run the game. That's the qualification.
Right.
Like, you don't have to have an internet connection to go see a movie in a movie theater. So 100% of your audience can't really convert to piracy. They might buy something off the street, but it's unlikely. But people with high-end computers have connections to the internet and high-speed connections usually. They are much higher probability of being exposed to piracy and participating in piracy. And you can see the effect it's having on PC gaming. Mm-hmm. I don't think there will be shelf PC games within the next 2 or 3 years. I really don't. Everything will be subscription-based.
Everything will be like Steam?
Yeah, or WoW.
WoW.
Yeah, WoW. I mean, I think people will just move more and more towards that. And we're seeing it. I mean, how often does a PC title really come out? That's a really high-end, decent one. The guys who made Crysis said that 90% of the people playing on their multiplayer servers were playing on pirated copies. And who knows? People always make the argument of, well, if I wouldn't have purchased this anyway if I hadn't pirated it. I think that argument goes right out the door the moment you play the game.
Dude, especially if you're playing on a server that they've got to maintain.
Yeah.
It costs them a lot of money to maintain and run those servers.
Right. If you play the game for like more than 2 seconds, to look at it or whatever, then that's done. You're playing the game. You can't say I wouldn't have played it because you're playing it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is becoming a major source of entertainment too. Another thing that people don't ever talk about with piracy issues, this is a global thing. Like we talk about the Pirate Bay being in Sweden and all that. This is an American industry, by and large.
Yeah.
Movies and
the entertainment
games.
Industry.
Yeah, the entertainment industry. It's like one of the major industries that we have left.
It's becoming it's going to be our national export pretty soon, right?
Pretty soon, yeah. And we do it well. I mean, I think America does it really well. I mean, maybe because Hollywood has pushed, Western storytelling out to the world, and now the games are following it, and music as well. But, Michael Jackson just died, American artist. Globally, this guy was huge, And so when we hear about other people pirating in other countries, it seems to be this, like, especially on the internet, like this rah-rah attitude about that. It's like, it's like, this is your major industry in your country. You know what I mean? There's no patriotic feeling at all of, like, that you might end up in this industry yourself one day. Especially people who like to play games, they might end up in gaming as well, And it's interesting. Like, we don't go through and pillage other people's industries,
Yeah.
By and large. And if we did, the American government would probably put the kibosh on it. Speaking of which, did you read that China banned gold farming?
I saw that, yeah.
Made it illegal to gold farm. You know what gold farming is?
In WoW?
Yeah, in WoW, where they have like sweatshops where people just go and like gather resources in MMOs and then sell them online.
That's in China.
In China.
And there's a huge problem with that in South Korea as well.
Yeah.
From what I understand. Right? I think, isn't South Korea still the most internet connected and I think the most online game playing country, like per capita?
I believe so.
This is where you always hear the stories of the guys who play for 25 hours straight and fall over dead.
And they have like StarCraft in that country is a sport, a national sport, and they will have televised events of people playing StarCraft against each other. Speaking of South Korea, though, and StarCraft, did you read that Blizzard has removed LAN play from StarCraft 2? There will be no LAN play.
Why?
I don't know. I don't know what the rationale behind it is. Gus said it's probably because people tend to cheat on LAN. But if you're in the room with the person, who's cheating with you? Who you get together with that will cheat?
That's really bizarre.
Yeah. Especially considering how competitive StarCraft is in other countries.
Blizzard's a smart company. I guess they have a good reason to do it.
You know what? That's a good point. Why even argue, right? They're probably making the right decision.
If there's a right decision to be made in the video game industry, Blizzard's making it.
Yeah, probably so. Probably so. And then while we were doing the last podcast, we saw that Bethesda bought id, or Bethesda's parent company, who I've never heard of.
ZeniMax.
Never heard of that.
Never heard of ZeniMax.
It's on your Fallout 3 loadout screen every time.
Which I have now noticed, since I saw the press release, I've now noticed is ZeniMax. That is not a brand I was familiar with in any way. Were you?
No, not at all.
I mean, what's your favorite ZeniMax game?
I think it's Fallout 3.
It sounds like some dude like Cinemax, was trying to like cop, like ride on the coattails of Cinemax and make people think they were making like racy games or something like that.
It's
starring Shannon Tweed and the dude from Greatest American Hero.
This is a total tangent, but I learned something from you the other day. You were over at my house. We were filming the Devil Box scene, and my wife has this old Victrola hand crank radio phonograph thing that she's got for a play she's designing. And you told me that Motorola started as a knockoff brand of Victrola.
No, that's correct.
Sort of. They started as a company that made mobile record players.
That is correct. Which is why Victrola was the big brand. Everybody knew it was like one of those brand names that becomes synonymous with the product, like Band-Aid or Kleenex. And
yeah, and then, so they made record players that you put in your car.
Sure,
because they didn't have tapes or any other like form of I think they only had AM radio at the time.
If that in a car.
Yeah.
They might not have any radio at all.
So
or
the
any
music you
AC.
listen to you listen to in your car is on a record, which seems preposterous, you know.
Which is why you need a
can-
specialized product to
You
do
need a
it.
specialized product, and it's so the motor and the motor, I should say, and the Rolla from Victrola.
Right.
You know,
They
together,
wanted
it's-
people to think of their product as they instantly know what it was, and people were saying Victrola as being this phonograph, and so
your motor vehicle, and you have a Victrola.
here's a
in there.
mobile version of it. And now we think of Motorola as being this cell phone mobile company. That's where the name came from.
Still fucking around somewhere like Herman Victrola wakes up every day and fucking curses the Motorola Corporation or his great grandkid.
Motherfuckers.
Stole my industry.
Exactly right. It's weird how that stuff gets buried in history.
That was
too.
going to be RCA, though, wasn't it?
What's
Didn't
that?
Victrola become RCA, and then RCA merged into something else?
I have no idea.
Yeah.
I think so.
I still have Reginald Victrola. I think your point's still valid. though.
Herman.
He didn't change his name.
It's Herman. It was Herman RCA.
Kodachrome just got shelved. It's gone.
That's sad.
Where I grew up, I was born in Rochester, New York. The two major companies in Rochester, New York.
Xerox? No, IBM.
No, you're right.
Xerox
Xerox
and Kodak.
and Kodak.
Right?
You think about two companies that could possibly be hurt by the digital revolution.
Man.
Xerox and Kodak. I mean,
I was born in Detroit. So where else in America can you know? Those are like two. That's just devastating, right? I mean, like to have those two industries. That's the whole town. But have you been back to Rochester?
I have been back to Rochester.
And what do people there do for employment now?
Honestly, what does anyone in
main
America
things.
do now? You know, they
Porn.
work. They
We
work.
covered that earlier.
They're all gaffers on a
all
Ben Affleck
gaffers.
movie. But yeah, I mean, it's they work in stores. We're about to go through another revolution where retail stores are going to start closing by the dozens.
Yeah, but although we shouldn't predict this so soon because that's what everyone was predicting in the first internet bubble.
Yeah, but I've heard
There was
estimates as much as
everything was
50%.
closing. Webvan was going to deliver all your groceries. There weren't going to be any grocery stores anymore. And, you know.
How did that
Anybody remember
how did that
Webvan?
product fail? How did Webvan fail?
People couldn't afford it.
Yeah, I could afford not to go to the grocery store. I would find a way to afford not going to the grocery store. I hate going to the grocery
Because you
store.
go to the
pretty
wrong
awful.
grocery store, dude. I go to the grocery store next to UT. So my grocery store, they call it Club HEB. Because it's just hot chicks all day and all night long. Going to the grocery store is an event. Like, you dress up. You want to look good.
Yeah, but then I would feel bad about buying the stuff that I buy, like my, Fig Newtons that I dip in peanut butter and stuff like that. Do you ever get self-conscious about what's in your cart at all?
No, never.
Really? Like if you had to buy
We don't buy the same stuff you buy.
like when you have to buy like butt medicine or something like that, and you like bury that. Even when I had babies, and I would buy diapers. I just like somehow I
Diapers
just-
embarrassed you? What size are you buying?
See, I look at it like this. If some hot chick sees me walking around with diapers, she knows I got laid.
or you're trying
I'm
to.
potent.
Hey kids, I got diapers in my car.
Horrible.
I don't know whether I feel more self-conscious by buying garbage food or about buying healthier food. Because then it looks like I'm trying too hard, Like,
Yeah.
oh, look, you've got chicken breasts and yogurt and cottage cheese. Like, who the fuck are you kidding, buddy?
Just started yesterday, huh?
Yeah, exactly right. It's funny because one time I did buy, like, I bought cottage cheese and yogurt and chicken breasts. And the woman checking out my stuff, she says, oh, you're going on a diet, huh? I was like, fucking bitch. So I said to her, I said, actually, I've been on a diet. I've lost a bunch of weight. She goes, really? How much? I go, when I started, I was 500 pounds. She was like, really? So I went from being like fatty who needs to lose weight to being like this unbelievably fit dude all of a sudden.
You're the next Jared.
Yeah. They had to, the first time I came to the grocery store, I came in on a crane. I don't know if you remember that day.
He used to swing me in.
I had to pull a wall out to bring me into the grocery store. All right, what else should we talk about? Anything else?
Oh God, let's see. What else is there to talk about in the world?
You guys
Talk
cover
about
all
gold
the
farming.
celebrity deaths before I get in here?
No, we didn't.
Oh shit, we haven't. Well,
Let's talk about people who died.
I thought, you can't think of three more different celebrities to die. And although I take that back, because if you start with Michael Jackson, you can't think of any other celebrity who's similar to Michael Jackson. But it still seemed like the three that we had are both the three that are very iconic. The Here's Johnny and the Farrah Fawcett poster from Forever, and
She was not
White
that old.
Glove.
She was too young to die
Yeah,
because she went
You know
to UT. Did you know that?
yeah. Do you know how many of those posters they sold?
I can't imagine.
20 million. 20 million of those Farrah Fawcett posters. Were
Are
out
you
there.
kidding me? That's before
Yeah.
Walmart too.
That's a lot of jerking off. So,
I wonder
gotta
if
do
she
that.
made any money from that because she didn't seem like.
super rich or anything?
No, she didn't seem like it. She was doing like Comedy Central roasts at the end of her life there, which maybe the poster money wasn't keeping up. You think that we
so.
would have gone through like a retro kind of revival with those?
I wonder if we will now, if they'll start cropping up.
No, like, would you imagine that?
I don't know.
I'm not
Dude.
going to put a dead woman up. I mean, that's not
Dude,
right now.
The other on Saturday, Gus showed me this. We looked at the most sold albums on Amazon, like their top 25 list.
That's different.
It is a little different, but Michael Jackson was the first 16 albums.
Yeah.
He was
That's
1
nuts.
through 16, and then he was like 4 more out of the top 25. It was fucking nuts.
Yeah, it's totally believable.
Yeah.
Totally believable.
Although I can't name 16 Michael Jackson albums.
Oh gosh, no.
He doesn't
Can
have.
you?
I mean, it's all.
I can name
But
3.
he had like a bunch of albums that like nobody bought.
He
Right.
had.
Yeah.
He had. I can name them because I just read a thing. It was Off the Wall, Thriller, Bad.
I'm done.
Off the Wall,
I'm
Thriller,
out
and
at
Bad.
this
Those
point.
are the ones everybody
Yes.
knows, right?
Then he had one called Invincible,
I would argue most people don't know Bad.
and he had one called.
Really? I think people know
Really?
Bad.
It was
That
his second.
huge
It
when
was
I
his second best-selling album. It sold
like
like 20 million copies.
I remember that being in middle school and the Who's Bad. Wasn't that the one with Wesley Snipes
Yeah.
Yes.
in the video?
You know what I got depressed about? I learned that the Smooth Criminal lean that they do, where they lean forward,
Oh, tell me that's fake.
it's fake.
It is?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Completely
That
fake.
sucked,
You're
dude.
ruining my childhood yet again.
Michael Jackson had a patent on a pair of shoes that had a wedge in them, like a grooved wedge, and he would slide, for stage performances, slide the shoes into pegs. So, and they would hold his feet still so he could do that. Like, would lock them in place, like skis almost. And the article specifically said that they got the patent for the shoes so they could do it during live performances because they couldn't replicate the wire and harnesses they had in the video, which made it seem even worse to me.
Yeah.
It's like, why even do that if it's in a video if you're not... Yeah, it was weird. Who do you think was farther outside their popularity when they died, Elvis or Michael Jackson?
Well, Elvis had that comeback tour not too long before he died, right? So
Right.
he was probably... He was not in his prime, certainly, but I think he was still...
And he didn't have the
No.
legal troubles that Michael Jackson had.
Right.
Do you have any idea how old Elvis was when he died?
No.
No, I think he was in his 40s. I don't think
Yeah.
he got up to 50.
I gotta say Michael Jackson was further away then,
I
right?
think he was.
Yeah, I don't know.
I read a really interesting article the other day, and it was about we all have to just recognize the fact that at some point, whether it's 20 years from now or 30 years from now or a year from now, that Star Wars is going to be rebooted, and they're going to remake Star Wars. Lucas will have to die.
I keep wondering, especially after having seen the Netflix I just saw, is if Frank Darabont is going to do the 789, which was talked about for a long time.
Right.
I don't know if that was just like a, Star
No.
Wars conspiracy thing, but I've heard that. You guys have heard this.
No,
rumor
I
as
remember
well,
reading
right?
an article that like Lucas said he doesn't want anything to do with it, but he trusted Spielberg and Darabont if they wanted it. They could do it.
Yeah. We were looking at the box office totals the other day,
Right?
and we were looking at the top grossing directors.
Right.
And Lucas was at number 4, right?
Right.
And we saw on there number of movies, 6. Well, what I forgot when we were looking at that, those aren't 6 Star Wars movies. He only directed 4 Star Wars movies. The other 2 are American Graffiti and THX.
Oh.
So he's in the top 3 or top 4.
He was number 4.
Highest grossing, number 4, highest grossing directors with only having made 6 movies, 2 of which weren't Star Wars movies.
That's a really interesting
Because
point.
Weren't-
Empire Strikes Back was Irvin Kershner, right?
Mm-hmm.
Am I saying that right? And number 6 was Richard Marquand.
Really? I the only one I knew was Kirshner directing Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah.
That's the only one I knew. That's really interesting. And who are the other top guys?
It was
Spielberg and
Spielberg.
Zemeckis.
It was Spielberg was number 1, Zemeckis was number 2, Michael Bay was number 3.
Nope.
Or no, was it?
Ron Howard.
Ron Howard.
Ron
I'm sorry.
Howard.
Ron Howard was number 3. Lucas was number 4, and then I think it might have been Bay.
Who knows? Yeah.
Yeah.
But I was really surprised to see that George Lucas was behind Ron Howard of all people, and Zemeckis.
Yeah.
What's Ron Howard's biggest movie?
I would say Cocoon or
He's had so many movies that were in that middle
Like $200
level
million
of success,
range.
like just barely hit 100 million or like 80 to 120.
he did a lot of porn that got pirated. So didn't make a lot of money.
Zemeckis' biggest one was
Probably
was Forrest Gump,
the
right?
Da Vinci Code has to be.
I guess so.
Ron
probably.
Howard's got Da Vinci Code, and then it seems like he's worked with Tom Hanks more than once. Oh, speaking of Tom Hanks and Steven Spielberg, did you see they're making a sequel to Band of Brothers, another miniseries on HBO
No,
Yeah.
in the Pacific? That's going to be incredible.
it's got to be a different cast completely, right?
Oh, it's
Oh, yeah,
yeah,
of course.
yeah.
Pacific Theater.
What are you looking?
That's an interesting tie-in. Ron Howard, on IMDb, it credits you with one movie that you're most well known for, and Ron Howard is American Graffiti, which I don't ever think about him being American Graffiti.
I don't think about him being an actor at all.
Well, let's see. Let's see if we can pick out what his Ron Howard's biggest movie is. Producer
Splash was pretty big, right?
A League of Their Own.
Far and Away was not a big hit. Willow was not a big hit either.
Oof. There's George Lucas in the mix again.
Yeah, I thought Willow was a great trailer. I was really excited about it.
It was.
But man, that movie was
That was one of those trailers that's like, the trailer and the movie just don't match up at all.
But if you look at Willow, if you look back now, what Willow was, with the dude with the skull face and all that, it was basically Star Wars meets Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
And like a fantasy Star Wars, but very obviously Lord of the Rings influence. What isn't in that genre?
I feel like I remember at the time thinking, this is a bad He-Man knockoff.
It
Which
was
is
bad.
weird. It's like He-Man is just like seems like a knockoff of other things too, right?
Yeah.
Do you guys remember that Lucas put Willow in Star Wars? He was in the Senate in episode 2.
Right.
He was in Java. He was all over the place.
Yeah.
He was hanging out with
And
a young
E.T.
Greedo, too.
Also, right? Wasn't E.T. in the Senate?
A lot of people were. Yeah, the ETs were.
And Chewbacca.
And
the
the
Wookiees were in there.
Backstreet Boys.
The Backstreet Boys. The Backstreet Boys were Jedis.
Yeah.
Michael Jackson.
Oh, yeah. There does seem to be, too, like this recalibration of someone's life after they die. Did you ever read any Orson Scott Card books?
I've read,
yeah.
I've read 2 of the big
What'd you read?
series. I read Ender's Game, and I read the direct sequel to Ender's Game.
Speaker for the Dead.
Yes.
Okay, that's a really interesting concept to me, the Speaker for the Dead, which is when someone dies, someone stands up and tells the story of their life. Honestly.
Doesn't sugarcoat it.
Doesn't sugarcoat it. This is the way the person was, and that your successes are part of your life, but so are your failures and your faults as well. And it's part of being human.
I just want you guys to know I don't want that, by the way. I want you guys to make me sound awesome if I go before you do.
But you kind of do. You kind of do want that. And here's why you want that. Because Michael Jackson, 2 weeks ago, every article about him would have been front cover, what a friggin' weirdo, what a loser, what a maniac. And then he dies, and he's the greatest guy on the planet.
Yeah.
But Michael Jackson died a weirdo. Like, that's what he thought the world thought about him. That he was a wacko weirdo. He's a wacko. That's what they called him, Wacko Jacko. And, the moment he dies, then everyone comes out. If you love this guy, tell him that while he's alive,
Mm-hmm.
Don't tell him that when don't celebrate him after he's dead. Take the time to celebrate his life while he's still alive. It's kind of sad in a way to me, It's in a way you almost do hope he's still alive, and he gets to read like all the positive things that people say about him, and even forgive him of all of his faults. Of like he had a hard life, he was a child star. It just seems disingenuous that now that they're dead, now we speak so highly of them, where we just beat them with abuse, and all these insults while they're still alive.
David Lynch, if you're listening, I love you.
There you go, brother. There you go. That's
really,
how you do
really
it.
do.
Great example. We talked about this. I talked with you, Matt, about this, so I'll ask you, Jeff. What is arguably the best rock band in history, the best pop rock band, globally known, that everyone in the world has been touched by this band?
The Beatles.
Okay, great answer. Who is the least talented of the Beatles, and who do you think is there because he doesn't deserve to be there?
Paul.
I don't know that Ringo catches a lot of shit, right? But I don't know that he's not talented.
John Lennon had a great Ringo quote, which is a reporter asked him, apparently Ringo stormed off of a rehearsal or something like that, and a reporter asked him, do you think that Ringo is the best rock drummer in the world? And John's reply was, Ringo's not even the best drummer in the Beatles. But Ringo is probably the guy who gets the least amount of credit for the Beatles out of all of them. Like, had the least influence over the success of the band. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely.
Okay, who's going to die last?
Oh, definitely Ringo.
Definitely Ringo. Paul is looking old. He's having a horribly stressful life. Ringo doesn't seem bothered by anything.
Lost half his money. Yeah, Ringo's got another 20, 30 years on him.
Probably. So then what's going to happen here if we look the way we treat people and celebrities when they die? Ringo's going to die, and then it's going to be the end of the Beatles. Like, all people will say is how influential Ringo was, and it'll all he'll inherit all of that basically.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Because he'll be the last Beatle. Yeah.
Right. It'll be the end of the Beatles, and here's what they did, and everything will be like, wow, and, Ringo was this amazing talent. Nobody's saying that today. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Nobody's doing that stuff today. Everybody's making fun of Ringo and, playing caveman at a midnight screening, that kind of stuff. And it's just like Ringo will be the last Beatle, and he'll be the end of the Beatles era, essentially.
What are you doing over there?
I think we're done.
Why are
So
you playing with a knife?
I just
it's-
idle hands.
Okay.
Well, we have episode 4 recreation coming out this Monday. A new short coming out on Friday.
Hopefully.
Probably late on Friday.
Our short schedule, man, is getting crunched harder and harder every week. Last week we did a 20-hour day on Friday, and that was pretty brutal.
Matt took a script that I had, which was 2 guys talking in the office, and then a payoff with the box joke. Matt took it. We were already under a tight time frame. He added 2 locations and an actress.
Yeah, and 4 pages.
And 4 pages. Right. So it's like all of a sudden now.
Sorry.
Well,
I'm probably not going to do that this week.
no, that was awesome. I mean, you were the guy who was here till Friday night at 1 a.m., so.
Yeah, I saw
I
you
wasn't the only
posted
one.
at like 2 a.m. or something. It was fucking nuts.
I know. Somebody responded, "Hey, why'd you guys post this so late? You should just wait and post it tomorrow." I'm like, "What the fuck? I posted it for you."
What is this? Such a stupid comment, too? It's. Do they think it's like television? Like people are going to miss it? There's not enough people awake at 2 a.m. to see
Yeah.
it? It's like, it's very critical that first hour of any internet video. That's when it really gets its legs.
The make or break. All right, let's stop this.
All right. Thank you for listening to the Rooster Teeth podcast. Join us next week when Gus returns to defend himself.
That's the one thing to learn in this office is never leave town.
Exactly right.
Ta-ta.
Bye,
Bye.
everybody.